Hey, hey, hey. All righty. Just letting a few guys and gals check in here, see what's going on. Good evening. Just seeing what's happening here. As we've got some updates, I want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. I think you probably can, but we'll see how it goes because I usually talk to myself, and there we go. Now you guys can talk to me. So as we flash what's going on here, I want to show you the big picture here because, of course, we are talking about more severe weather. As we let a few more people join us here, Weather First meteorologist Gary Frank, got to update you on what's happening. We've got some pretty good storms to our west, and this complex eventually is going to impact us to some degree tomorrow, but the entire area is going to affect us a little bit more. Let's take a deep dive into what's happening because I want to show you where these storms are developing and what this whole mess is out to the west. First and foremost, look at all the storms that are starting to pop up here. I mean, we've got some pretty significant weather here where you have a confirmed tornado in Oklahoma, but look at all this, not only flash flooding, but this big Boeing line of storms from Wichita to Emporia with a history of producing upwards of 90 to 100 mile an hour straight line wind. And, you know, that's where the severe thunderstorm watch is in place until about 2 a.m. Now, you'll notice the general trend of where all this stuff is. It's moving off to the south. That doesn't mean it's not out of the question for some of that to impact us. That's why I showed you that last particular product here, where you can see how this all impacts us to some degree. But let me loop this thing and watch how these storms are bubbling, not only along this frontal system right here from Springfield, but along this particular boundary. I think generally they're going to drift our way, bring us clouds, but not severe weather. So I don't think that we're going to be dealing with severe weather tonight. This is not something that overnight you worry about severe weather, but it's Tuesday into Wednesday. So let's look at a couple of things here. And first and foremost, our severe weather risk on Tuesday, because this is what I want to most focus on. Because I think while it's not out of the question that a few storms develop tomorrow, I think most of them will be brief in the morning and move through quickly. But I think Tuesday, look at this widespread severe weather outlook. This is from central Missouri all the way up to Wisconsin and Minnesota. But you'll notice how, once again, we go from orange to yellow to green. That means we start out at a 3 all the way to a 1. What does that mean, and why are we seeing that? Well, a lot of this has to do with the timing. So I will zoom into some of the spots that are looking involved in this, from Bowling Green to Herman to St. Louis to Farmington. Then once you get out into Mount Vernon, things wind down a little bit. That doesn't mean everybody's not going to be dealing with some sort of severe weather, but I think a lot of it has to do with the timing. This is going to be very late at night, and what I want to show you first and foremost is the fact that why do we have severe weather? Well, right now we have this active pattern that's kind of setting up, and you're going to look at this dip in the jet stream, this low pressure, and this cold front. And what this is going to do is bring upper level energy, wind, and we already have heat and humidity. We know that just by going outside. So that's what I want to talk about here specifically as I put this on the full screen so you can see this a little bit more. What I do think is going to occur here are a couple of different things here. And I'm going to talk through this and then answer any of your questions here. But as we go through Tuesday, look at where the main storm system is. Look, it's to the north, right? Like, we're not going to be dealing with this too much. We stay pretty mild, but watch how things stay dry throughout noon on Tuesday. Look where that line of storms is setting up. And watch how this line of storms starts to develop in Kansas City. And I'll come back to you and I'll talk to you a little bit about this. Because this leading edge line of storms, this is 5 o'clock, right? So your entire Tuesday is pretty much dry. But as we watch this line of storms enter an area where it's been relatively sunny, hot, and humid all day long, how much will this hold together? So that's what we're going to look at. Is the better opportunity for severe weather further to the north? Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm going to hit pause on this and just kind of let it, I'm going to drag this to the north. Look where the better opportunity for severe weather is. nearer this low, that's where we have a better opportunity for severe weather. That's where the greatest tornado risk is going to be throughout the 24-hour period. But as this drags this front and this line of storms on the southern edge of this, how much will that hold together? I think this is another one of these situations where a leading edge of storms produces the capability for some brief, rotating, weak tornadoes on the leading edge of it, 60-mile-an-hour wind and quarter-sized hail. That's what I think we're looking at this point in time. But as I zoom back into things, what I want to note is the fact that, you know, we've got a few areas that could be dealing with some stronger storms as early as 8 o'clock, I think, in Gasconade County, as we see a few of those storms settle in. But watch how I go throughout the next few hours here. That's where this settles in, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. These storms may even have the capability to still see that brief, weak tornado possibility here at this point. And that's what I think we have to worry about even as we go further to the south, all the way through 1 o'clock. I think this is finally out of here. So let's pause there and talk about a few things, because as we look ahead, this is what we're dealing with on Tuesday. More strong storms. I think after 8 o'clock is probably our best bet, but the threats are going to be 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Some larger hail, but I don't think it's too significant. We're not talking golf ball, baseball size hail. That doesn't seem to be the case with this. This tornado threat, all of them are on the table, but that would be those brief, weak tornadoes where you see they don't last long, but they're leading edge spin type tornadoes on the leading edge of those systems that we so often talk about. That's going to be very conditional. We'll see how things play out throughout the day. But right now, these are the types of threats that we're looking at. As we go through Wednesday, once again, what I do think is this wide edge of this front, look where this goes. And I think the difference from yesterday that we're looking at now is the fact that this is not really moving that quickly. And as a result, there are going to be some areas even to the south, like St. Louis, and I mean really 44 off to the southwest or southeast, that is, that still have a severe weather risk on Wednesday. As this front hangs around, heating of the day, we get more storms that develop. And this is what it may look like here. And I'll flash this back on the full screen for you so you can see. But what this may look like is the fact that once that moves through, then we're going to have another additional line of storms that could develop Wednesday evening, Wednesday afternoon. And that's where I think we'll have to watch out for the potential for some stronger storms. But once again, like I said, I think the big day for us, Tuesday late night and then Wednesday afternoon. And we'll watch that specifically. But now I'm going to put this back on, and I'm going to try to answer some of your questions if you guys have them here as we look at this widespread area of severe weather throughout the area. And one thing we'll look at here is let's look at a couple of these questions here. So that's what I'm going to look at here at the moment. Let's check in and see what you guys have to say. I'm going to turn the volume all the way down because I typically do end up doing that. I don't have a ton of questions, but we just have people that says make it stop. I get that. Yeah, that's the big thing, right? I think the severe weather risk, we're probably not a big fan of it at this point, but in some cases. But that's what we're dealing with this week for the most part. So those are my only comments I have. But like I said, the key for us is the potential for severe weather Tuesday night and Wednesday afternoon as this whole entire front settles in. And what we're looking at now is much more severe weather out to the west. That may drift and give us an opportunity for a shower or thunderstorm by early morning hours. That's something Anthony will track. Carl asked the timing for St. Louis County. I think this is going to be something that we deal with on Tuesday around probably 10, 11, 12 o'clock, Tuesday into Wednesday. This is late night. So this is, once again, if you're just kind of popping on here and wonder if you have to prepare for the week, I think that we're probably going to see storms that are not affecting us overnight or tomorrow morning. Most of those storms will stay north along this front. However, it's going to be Tuesday throughout the night and then by Wednesday. But like I said, let's see, Tony says it's going to be mainly north. And as I mentioned earlier, that is a relative term because, yes, while this is where the main tornado threat is going to be and the most severe weather, that doesn't mean we're not going to see impactful weather and maybe a small handful of tornadoes. It's not out of the question. We'll see how things play out. We obviously have heat and humidity, and what we're kind of dealing with here is what we're kind of dealing with here is storms move in late. We've got plenty of humidity, and that's how far this warm front drags to the north. We have this cold front by 3 o'clock. Look how far north this humidity goes behind this cold front and the center of low pressure, which is going to provide some more instability here. And that's what I think we're dealing with. That warm front lifts north and brings in a lot of humidity, but we have no lack of humidity, but it's just going to be the fact that we've got that potential for even storms moving in at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. We've seen that, right? When we have plenty of heat and instability during the day, this holds together. We have a couple other underlying factors that help us keep those storms strong. And, as I just kind of put this on the full screen, that keep these things strong. So it's not out of the question. And these storms may weaken, and that's totally fine too. They may not provide any severe weather at all. They might just provide a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust, and that could be enough to cause some impacts as well. So we'll see how that's going on. Let's see. The severe level threat for us, Carl asked. Let's see. We've generally are in between a slight risk or an enhanced risk, and I'll pull this back up for you. There are a couple of things, and I'm going to pull up all sorts of days. We'll start with Tuesday, and I might work backwards to Monday, but Tuesday, this is for that particular line that I've been talking about the most. Tuesday, the thing about these risks is they go from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. essentially, and this is going to be for the tail end of Tuesday, like very, very late, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, all the way till 2 in the morning. But you'll see where a majority of our area in that slight risk, but it really has to do with the fact that the storms are moving in this direction from a daytime period. So you're going to see them weaken as they gradually move along, at least in theory. And then also, you also have this other day 4 risk, which will change it to a different color tomorrow. And that has to do with the front moving in. So that's where the front moves. And what you really will see is these areas that got some of those stronger storms Tuesday, the front has now passed. Storms continue to develop in the afternoon there because this is not going to be a quick moving front. Ashley asked about Memorial Day weekend weather. I think right now we still have storms here and there, but it's not going to rain all day at any point. I don't see that, but there's going to be a lot of stuff going on for that. But like I said, Tuesday into Wednesday, those are our biggest threats for severe weather. Now, the other issue is I will mention that the Storm Prediction Center has us under a marginal risk on Monday. Let's see, that's day 1. This is day 2, what I was looking for. So they have us under a kind of a broad area, and I really think that this probably needs to be a little further north. It's not out of the question. There could be a few storms to the north. This has to do with the position of where this boundary is, and a lot of it is to the north. I think right now we have some limiting factors for those storms to hold together. You really kind of see that more on this particular visible satellite infrared image. This, by default, these storms are growing, but watch how this is continuing to dive south. Overall, this is going to bring us cloud cover and probably keeps us from hitting 90 tomorrow. It's still going to be plenty warm and humid, but that's probably the biggest thing for us is the fact that most of this weather will fall apart as I show you this. Most of this is probably going to fall apart in some regard. So, that's probably the biggest story here for watch how this stuff develops and eventually dives to the south in Kansas, but notice how even there it's already starting to fall apart. We have some limiting factors here locally, including some warm air aloft that's not exactly beneficial for those storms to hold together. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. I'll try to answer any other questions off the air, but right now, once again, I'm going to leave you with the general timeline as we expect Tuesday evening. Those storms, especially after 8 o'clock, those storms have the possibility to develop, create some issues, and then by Wednesday afternoon, that's a different story as well. So those are our next days that we're focused on impactful weather, and so that's what we want to kind of worry about, and we'll keep you posted. Until then,